Florence Scovel Shinn said, "These 8 spiritual laws will multiply your money if you apply them." In the sacred halls of spiritual wisdom, there exists a profound truth that has been hidden from the masses, yet revealed to those who dare to look beyond the veil of material limitation. Florence Scovel Shinn, the great metaphysical teacher, understood this fundamental principle that governs the flow of abundance in our lives. Money is not a material substance to be chased or hoarded, but a spiritual energy to be magnetized through divine alignment. The first revelation that will transform your relationship with prosperity is this: your financial circumstances are not determined by external conditions, market forces, or economic trends. They are the direct manifestation of your inner spiritual state, your consciousness, and your vibrational alignment with the infinite supply that surrounds you at every moment. When you truly grasp this truth, you cease to be a victim of circumstances and become the conscious creator of your financial destiny. Consider for a moment the profound implications of this understanding. If money is energy, and energy follows thought, then your thoughts about money are literally creating your financial reality. Every belief you hold about scarcity, every fear you harbor about lack, every doubt you entertain about your worthiness to receive abundance is actively blocking the natural flow of prosperity into your life. Yet conversely, every moment you align with the truth of infinite supply, every instant you recognize your divine right to abundance, you open the floodgates of financial blessing. Florence Scovel Shinn taught us that the universe operates on spiritual laws as precise and reliable as the laws of physics. Just as water flows downhill and fire burns upward, abundance flows to those who are in vibrational harmony with its frequency. This is not wishful thinking or positive psychology. This is metaphysical law in action. When you understand that your consciousness is the determining factor in your financial experience, you begin to realize the tremendous power that lies within your grasp. The question that pierces through all illusion is this: what if everything you've been taught about money is backwards? What if, instead of working harder for money, you need to work smarter with the spiritual principles that govern its flow? What if your bank account is not a reflection of your education, your connections, or your circumstances, but a mirror of your inner spiritual alignment? This shift in understanding represents the first great awakening in your journey toward financial transformation. You are not separate from abundance. You are abundance expressing itself in human form. You are not lacking anything. You are the very consciousness through which infinite supply seeks to manifest. The moment you truly accept this truth, your financial reality begins to shift because you have aligned yourself with the fundamental spiritual law that governs all manifestation. I declare with the authority of spiritual truth: my consciousness is the creative power that shapes my financial experience. As I align with divine abundance, money flows to me easily and naturally from expected and unexpected sources. This is not merely a statement. It is a recognition of your divine nature and your inherent right to prosper. When you speak these words with conviction and live from this understanding, you activate the spiritual machinery that transforms your financial landscape. The divine blueprint of abundance is written into the very fabric of creation. It is not reserved for the chosen few or the spiritually elite. It is your birthright as a child of the infinite, and it awaits your recognition and acceptance. Are you ready to step into this truth and claim what has always been yours? The second profound spiritual law that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed is the law of divine supply, which states that there is an inexhaustible source of abundance that flows through all creation, and you are connected to this source at every moment of your existence. This law operates independently of human effort, economic conditions, or material circumstances. It is the recognition that behind all physical manifestation lies an infinite field of potential, ready to express itself through those who open themselves to receive. Most people live under the devastating illusion of limitation. They believe that resources are scarce, that there isn't enough to go around, and that for someone to have more, another must have less. This consciousness of lack creates a vibrational frequency that repels abundance and attracts precisely what is feared: financial struggle, limitation, and insufficiency. But the truth, as revealed through spiritual law, is that we live in an abundant universe where supply is infinite and availability is limited only by our capacity to receive. When you truly understand the law of divine supply, you realize that your source is not your job, your business, your investments, or any external channel. These are merely the vehicles through which infinite abundance expresses itself in your experience. Your true source is the inexhaustible creativity of the universe itself, the divine intelligence that has never created scarcity and never will. This understanding liberates you from the anxiety and fear that comes from believing your supply depends on external conditions beyond your control. Florence Scovel Shinn taught us to recognize that divine supply operates through what she called divine selection. This means that the universe knows exactly what you need, when you need it, and how to deliver it in perfect timing and in perfect ways. Your role is not to manipulate or force outcomes, but to align yourself with the flow of divine intelligence and allow it to work through you and for you. This requires a fundamental shift from the consciousness of effort to the consciousness of receptivity. Think about the ocean for a moment. Does the ocean worry about having enough water? Does it concern itself with conservation or rationing its supply? Of course not, because its nature is abundance. The ocean gives freely to every creek, stream, and river without diminishing itself. Similarly, the universe gives freely to every conscious being without any reduction in its infinite capacity to supply. You are not separate from this divine ocean of abundance. You are an individualized expression of it, with full access to its infinite resources. The transformational question that opens your consciousness to this truth is, what would change in your life if you knew beyond doubt that your supply could never be threatened, diminished, or cut off? How would you think differently about money? How would you make decisions? How would you treat opportunities? How would you relate to others? When you truly live from the consciousness of infinite supply, fear dissolves, anxiety disappears, and confidence becomes your natural state. This law reveals itself in countless ways to those who recognize and apply it. Unexpected opportunities arise, forgotten assets surface, new income streams appear, debts are forgiven, gifts are received, and synchronicities multiply. These are not coincidences. They are the natural result of aligning your consciousness with the truth of infinite supply. The universe is constantly seeking outlets through which to express its abundance, and when you become such an outlet through your faith and receptivity, miraculous financial experiences become your normal way of life. I declare with unwavering faith, I am connected to infinite supply. My needs are met before I even ask. Divine intelligence knows exactly what I require and provides it in perfect timing through perfect channels. This affirmation is not an attempt to convince the universe to give you something. It is a recognition of what is already true. When you speak and live from this consciousness, you magnetize experiences that confirm this spiritual reality. The law of divine supply is always operating, whether you recognize it or not. But when you consciously align with it, you transform from someone who struggles for supply to someone through whom supply flows effortlessly to bless yourself and others. The third spiritual law that Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized is the supremacy of faith over fear in the realm of financial manifestation. She understood that fear is the great enemy of abundance, while faith is the great attractor of all good. This is not mere positive thinking, but a fundamental spiritual principle that governs how the universe responds to the vibration you emit through your dominant mental and emotional states. Fear about money creates a vibrational frequency that actively repels the very thing you desire. When you worry about bills, stress about debt, or anxiously monitor your bank account, you are sending out energetic signals that say, I don't have enough. And the universe, in its perfect responsiveness, creates experiences that match this frequency. Every moment spent in financial fear is a moment spent in active opposition to your prosperity. But faith operates on an entirely different vibrational level. Faith is not hope or wishful thinking. It is the spiritual knowing that divine law is operating in your favor at all times, regardless of temporary appearances. Faith recognizes that what you see in your current financial situation is not the full picture, but merely a snapshot of energy in transition. When you maintain faith in the face of financial challenges, you keep the door open for miraculous solutions and unexpected breakthroughs. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that faith must be accompanied by what she called fearless faith, a complete abandonment of worry and anxiety about outcomes. This doesn't mean being careless or irresponsible with money, but rather approaching financial matters from a place of spiritual confidence rather than material insecurity. Fearless faith says, I know that divine intelligence is working out every detail for my highest good, and I can rest in this knowing while taking inspired action. Consider the profound difference between making financial decisions from fear versus making them from faith. Fear-based decisions are reactive, desperate, and often lead to greater problems. Faith-based decisions are peaceful, wise, and aligned with divine guidance. When you operate from faith, you naturally attract better opportunities, make clearer choices, and find yourself in the right place at the right time for financial blessings to manifest. The transformation begins when you recognize that your faith is more powerful than your circumstances. Your spiritual conviction carries more weight in the invisible realm than your bank balance carries in the visible realm. This is because the invisible realm is where all manifestation originates. What appears in your physical experience is always preceded by movement in the spiritual dimension, and faith is the force that creates this movement. Every time you choose faith over fear, you are literally rewriting your financial destiny. You are declaring to the universe that you trust divine law more than material appearances. You are aligning yourself with the creative power that shapes reality rather than the temporary conditions that seem to contradict your desires. This alignment is magnetic, drawing to you the people, opportunities, and resources necessary for your financial breakthrough. But faith requires cultivation. It must be developed through consistent practice and conscious choice. Every morning when you wake up, you have the opportunity to choose faith or fear. Every time you think about money, you can choose to focus on divine supply or material lack. Every financial challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your faith muscle and deepen your trust in spiritual law. The question that will transform your financial reality is this: are you willing to trust divine intelligence more than your fears? Are you prepared to act from faith even when circumstances suggest you should worry? Are you ready to become so grounded in spiritual truth that external conditions lose their power to shake your inner peace and confidence? I declare with complete conviction, I choose faith over fear in all my financial affairs. Divine intelligence guides my every financial decision, and my faith in infinite supply manifests as abundant provision in my life. When you make this declaration with genuine feeling and live by its truth, you become a magnet for financial miracles. Faith is not blind optimism, it is spiritual sight. It sees beyond temporary appearances to eternal truth. When you develop this spiritual vision, you discover that your financial challenges were actually opportunities to strengthen your faith and demonstrate the power of spiritual law in your life. The fourth spiritual law, revealed by Florence Scovel Shinn, is the law of circulation, which teaches that abundance flows like a river. It must keep moving to remain alive and life-giving. This law demonstrates that hoarding, withholding, and fearful grasping actually block the flow of prosperity, while generous giving, joyful sharing, and fearless circulation create an ever-expanding current of abundance that returns multiplied. Many people misunderstand this principle, believing that giving when you have little will leave you with nothing. But spiritual law operates differently than material logic. When you give from a consciousness of abundance, recognizing that your supply is infinite and inexhaustible, you create a vacuum that the universe must fill. Nature abhors a vacuum, and when you create space through giving, divine supply rushes in to fill that space with even greater abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that there are two ways to give: giving from lack and giving from abundance. When you give from lack, reluctantly, fearfully, or with anxiety about having enough left over, you are actually affirming scarcity and creating more limitation in your experience. But when you give from abundance, joyfully, freely, and with complete trust in your infinite supply, You are affirming prosperity and magnetizing greater abundance into your life. The key insight is that your motivation and consciousness while giving determines the spiritual result. If you give in order to get something back, you are operating from the consciousness of manipulation rather than genuine circulation. But if you give because you recognize yourself as a channel for divine abundance, knowing that the more you let flow through you, the more there is available to flow, then you activate the true power of this spiritual law. This principle extends beyond monetary giving to include the circulation of praise, gratitude, love, and appreciation. When you freely give compliments, express genuine appreciation, and share positive energy with others, you create a circulation of good that returns to you in countless forms. The universe operates on the principle of reciprocity, but not always in the form or from the source you might expect. Consider the profound difference between a stagnant pond and a flowing river. The pond, which hoards its water and allows nothing to flow out, eventually becomes contaminated and lifeless. But the river, which constantly gives of its water to everything along its banks, remains fresh, clean, and full of life because it is constantly receiving new supply from its source. Your financial life operates according to the same principle. The circulation of abundance also includes your willingness to receive. Many people are comfortable giving but struggle with receiving, not realizing that blocking reception is actually blocking circulation. When someone offers you a gift, a compliment, or an opportunity, your gracious acceptance allows the flow of abundance to continue. Refusing to receive breaks the circuit and stops the circulation of good in your experience. Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized that the universe operates on the principle of as you give, so you receive. But this receiving often comes in unexpected forms and from surprising sources. You might give money and receive an opportunity. You might give appreciation and receive unexpected assistance. You might give time and receive valuable connections. The return is guaranteed by spiritual law, but the form and timing are orchestrated by divine intelligence. The transformational question that opens your understanding is, what would happen if you truly trusted that the more you give from abundance consciousness, the more abundance flows into your life? How would this change your relationship with money, possessions, and opportunities? What fears would you need to release to live as a joyful channel of circulation, rather than a fearful container of hoarding? I declare with absolute faith, I am a perfect channel for the circulation of divine abundance. As I give freely and joyfully, I receive abundantly from expected and unexpected sources. My supply is unlimited because I am connected to infinite source. This declaration aligns you with the natural flow of abundance and transforms you from a dam that blocks flow into a river that channels it. The law of circulation reveals that generosity is not something you do despite having limited resources. Generosity is the very mechanism by which unlimited resources flow into your experience. When you understand and apply this principle, you discover that giving is not a sacrifice, but a strategy, a spiritual strategy for multiplying abundance in your life. The fifth spiritual law that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed is perhaps the most immediately practical and powerfully transformative. The understanding that your spoken words are creative forces that literally shape your financial reality. She taught that the tongue has the power of life and death over your prosperity, and that every word you speak about money is either blessing your abundance or cursing your supply. This principle operates through the recognition that words are not merely sounds or symbols, but vibrational frequencies that activate the creative power of the universe. When you speak, you are not simply expressing thoughts. You are releasing energetic forces into the quantum field of infinite possibility, where they take on a life of their own and work to manifest corresponding experiences in your physical reality. Most people unconsciously sabotage their financial prosperity through careless speech. They declare, I can't afford it, money doesn't grow on trees, I'm broke, I never have enough, and countless other affirmations of limitation. Each of these statements is a creative command sent into the universe, instructing it to create experiences of lack, struggle, and financial insufficiency. The subconscious mind, which cannot distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined or repeatedly stated, accepts these declarations as truth and works tirelessly to make them manifest. But when you understand the creative power of the spoken word, you can consciously use language to transform your financial reality. Every positive declaration about money, every affirmation of abundance, every grateful acknowledgement of prosperity becomes a spiritual seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness, destined to grow into corresponding manifestations in your material experience. Florence Scovel Shinn taught specific techniques for using the spoken word to multiply money. She emphasized the importance of speaking as if your desires were already fulfilled, because this aligns your vibration with the frequency of having rather than wanting. Instead of saying, "I want more money," you learn to declare, "I am richly blessed with abundant supply." Instead of stating, "I need financial help," you proclaim, "Divine intelligence provides for all my needs before I even ask." The power of the spoken word is magnified when combined with genuine feeling and unwavering faith. Words spoken mechanically or doubtfully carry little creative force. But words spoken with conviction, gratitude, and emotional alignment become powerful creative commands that the universe cannot ignore. This is why Florence emphasized the importance of feeling the truth of your declarations as you speak them, knowing that emotion is the energy that gives wings to your words. This principle also includes the critical importance of controlling your inner dialogue about money. Your internal conversations about finances are just as creative as your spoken words, perhaps even more so because they operate continuously beneath the level of conscious awareness. When you catch yourself thinking thoughts of financial lack or limitation, you must immediately redirect your inner speech to align with abundance and prosperity. The transformation becomes dramatic when you begin to bless money rather than curse it. Instead of speaking about money with frustration, resentment, or fear, you learn to speak about it with appreciation, respect, and love. You begin to understand that money is a form of energy that responds to the vibration you send toward it. When you bless money, it is drawn to you. When you curse money through negative speech, it avoids you. Consider the profound implications of this understanding. Every conversation about finances becomes an opportunity to either enhance or diminish your prosperity. Every comment about money becomes a creative act that either builds or destroys your abundance. Every word spoken about financial matters becomes a prayer that is either answered with blessing or with limitation. The question that will revolutionize your relationship with money is this: if you knew that every word you spoke about finances was literally creating your financial future, how would you choose to speak? What declarations would you make? What conversations would you avoid? What inner dialogue would you cultivate? I declare with the full authority of spiritual law, my words are creative power, and I speak only abundance, prosperity, and financial blessing into my life. Every word I utter about money magnetizes greater wealth and opens new channels of supply. This declaration, spoken with feeling and faith, immediately begins to transform your financial reality by aligning your creative power with divine abundance. The spoken word is not mere philosophy or theory. It is practical metaphysics in action. When you master this principle and apply it consistently, you discover that your words are indeed the building blocks of your financial destiny, and that conscious speech is one of your most powerful tools for creating lasting wealth. The sixth and culminating spiritual law, revealed by Florence Scovel Shinn, is the recognition that true financial mastery comes not from accumulating money, but from embodying the consciousness of abundance so completely that prosperity becomes your natural state of being. This represents the ultimate integration of all spiritual principles into a lived experience of unshakable financial confidence and divine alignment with unlimited supply. Living in the frequency of financial mastery means maintaining your spiritual equilibrium regardless of temporary financial fluctuations. It means knowing so deeply that you are one with infinite abundance that external circumstances cannot disturb your inner peace or shake your faith in divine supply. This consciousness becomes a magnetic force that consistently attracts opportunities, resources, and financial blessings, because it vibrates at the frequency of having rather than needing. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that this mastery state is not achieved through accumulating a certain amount of money, but through developing unshakable trust in spiritual law and your divine right to prosper. A person with this consciousness could lose everything materially and remain perfectly calm, knowing that their true supply is spiritual and therefore indestructible. They understand that temporary setbacks are merely opportunities for divine intelligence to demonstrate its power through them. This frequency is characterized by what she called divine indifference to material appearances. This doesn't mean being careless or irresponsible, but rather being so grounded in spiritual truth that you can face any financial situation with perfect poise and confidence. You neither become elated by financial gains nor depressed by apparent losses, because you know that your true security lies in your connection to infinite source, not in any material accumulation. When you live in this frequency, decision-making becomes effortless because you are guided by divine intelligence rather than driven by fear or greed. You naturally know which opportunities to pursue and which to avoid. You instinctively understand when to act and when to wait. You automatically attract the right people, circumstances, and resources because your consciousness is a perfect match for divine abundance. This mastery consciousness also transforms your relationship with others around financial matters. You become generous not out of guilt or obligation, but from genuine joy and recognition of universal abundance. You cease to be threatened by others' success and instead celebrate it, knowing that in an infinite universe there is more than enough for everyone. You no longer compete for limited resources because you understand that resources are unlimited. The practical expression of this frequency includes maintaining mental and emotional equilibrium during financial challenges, speaking only words of abundance and blessing, making decisions from peace rather than pressure, giving joyfully and receiving gracefully, and consistently acknowledging divine supply as your true source. These are not things you do to achieve mastery. They are natural expressions of having achieved it. Florence taught that this state of consciousness could be developed through consistent spiritual practice, unwavering faith, and persistent application of spiritual principles regardless of circumstances. It requires a commitment to truth over appearances, to principle over emotion, and to divine guidance over human reasoning. But once achieved, it becomes self-perpetuating because the universe cannot help but respond to such perfect alignment with its fundamental nature. The ultimate realization of financial mastery is understanding that you and infinite abundance are not separate entities, but one unified field of consciousness expressing itself through the experience of prosperity. You recognize that every financial blessing in your life is actually the universe celebrating its own abundance through your individual expression. You become a living demonstration of divine prosperity, inspiring others and contributing to the elevation of consciousness on the planet. The final transformational question that completes your journey to financial mastery is, are you ready to accept that you are not seeking abundance from a place of separation, but recognizing abundance as your true spiritual identity? Can you embrace the truth that financial mastery is not about having money, but about being the consciousness through which infinite wealth flows to bless yourself and the world? I declare with complete spiritual authority, I am the perfect expression of divine abundance. Financial mastery is my natural state. I live, move, and have my being in infinite prosperity, and this consciousness manifests as perfect supply in every area of my life. This final declaration seals your commitment to living at the highest frequency of financial consciousness and activates the ultimate potential for wealth manifestation in your experience. The 8 spiritual laws revealed by Florence Scovel Shinn are not merely concepts to understand, but living principles to embody. When integrated and applied consistently, they transform you from someone who struggles with money into someone through whom money flows effortlessly to create a life of purpose, contribution, and unlimited abundance. The journey from financial limitation to spiritual mastery is complete, and your new life of divine prosperity begins now.